From agricultural fields to city foundations, the machines we're looking at today have had a significant impact on history. Whether you're a machine enthusiast, a history buff, or simply curious about how we got here, this is a journey you won't want to miss. Cat D6. First up, we have the timeless Cat D6. The Cat D6, which was first introduced in the late 1930s, quickly became a heavy machinery industry standard. By the late 1940s, this type had undergone substantial engine upgrades, cementing its place in the history of powerful machines. While the D6 is still available today, subsequent models are denoted by suffixes such as D6C, but we're focusing on the original, genuine type. The D6 and the D4 shared many characteristics, but the D6 stood out with its 6-cylinder engine, whilst the D4 had a 4-cylinder engine. This was a high-speed engine capable of reaching 1,200 revolutions per minute, a significant advance over prior Cat engines that only reached 900 revolutions per minute. Early versions of the D6 featured a unique starting system, a horizontally opposed 2-cylinder gas engine mounted on top of the bell housing, known as the starting engine. This engine could be started either manually with a rope or with a 6-volt electric starter. To get the main engine running, you first had to crank the pony engine, either by hand or electrically. Then, you would engage a pinion into the main engine flywheel and set a clutch to turn over the main engine. If all went well, the main engine would start, and you could shut down the starting engine. But the starting engine did more than simply crank the main engine. It shared a water jacket with the main engine, which circulated warm water to the engine's head and fuel filter system. The exhaust from the beginning engine was also channeled via the intake manifold, preheating the air for the diesel engine. These attributes were critical in allowing the Cat engine to function in extreme weather conditions. However, as diesel fuel technology advanced and fewer regions faced extreme cold, Cat began to offer direct electric start in subsequent models. The starting engine was eventually replaced by huge batteries and an electric starting motor, which enabled the now common ease of push-button starting. Allis-Chalmers HD41 Bulldozer. Next up, let's talk about the massive Allis-Chalmers HD41 Bulldozer, a true giant of its time, weighing in at 70 tons and boasting 524 horsepower. This massive crawler tractor made headlines as the biggest vehicle of its time. At the 1963 Chicago Road Show, Allis-Chalmers introduced the HD41, which hinted at the future of heavy machinery. This 70-ton, 524-horsepower behemoth made history as the most powerful tractor ever manufactured at the time. However, this premiere was only a preview of what was to come. Allis-Chalmers sought to ensure that the HD41 was a dependable and cost-effective workhorse for moving large volumes of soil. Following its brief presentation, the HD41 underwent a rigorous development period, with multiple prototypes tested in a variety of environments. It was not until 1970 that customers saw it in full production. According to its history, Allis-Chalmers began producing diesel-powered tractors in 1938 using General Motors engines. By 1940, they had introduced 3 models, the HD7, HD10, and HD14, which superseded their previous oil-powered tractors. Among these, the HD14 stood out as the largest and most powerful crawler tractor of its day, with an astonishing 132 drawbar horsepower. It was also the first crawler to have a torque converter with its 1945 update. In 1947, Allis-Chalmers broke another world record with the HD19.
One of the hardest things to do is build a belt up that's 50, 75, or 100 feet long and get everything to run true.
A 25-ton behemoth with 163 horsepower and a dozer blade. Fast forward to the HD41, which was powered by a Cummins VT 1710 C4-cycle turbocharged diesel engine with a torque converter. Its power shift transmission offered 3 speeds in both forward and reverse, reaching up to 6.5 miles per hour. Optional attachments included bulldozer blades up to 20 feet wide, available in semi-U and full-U configurations, along with a cushioned push block for push-loading scrapers. Caterpillar TC 12 dozer. Let's shift our focus to the remarkable Euclid TC 12 dozer from 1954, a machine that stood out in an era when companies were willing to take big risks for big rewards. The Euclid TC-12, introduced in 1955, was a dramatic departure from the norm, meant to challenge Caterpillar's dominance in the crawler market. While it didn't completely dethrone Caterpillar, the TC-12 was far from a flop. By the 1920s, Euclid had established itself in the construction equipment industry, and by the early 1950s, it was a market leader. However, due to aging leadership and a need for additional finance, the corporation was acquired by General Motors. George Armington, then in his 80s, oversaw the transaction, while his son Ray operated Euclid for GM until 1960. The TC-12's size provided both strength and difficulty. Weighing roughly about 30 to 35 tons without the blade, transporting it was no easy task. To address this, Euclid ingeniously designed the TC-12 to split into two sections, making it easier to move. As heavy equipment became more common, the TC-12 started to find its place.
But probably the most unique feature about these Euclid and Terex dozers was the unique layout of the powering system.
The first significant update came in 1958 with the TC-12-2, which increased engine output to 227 horsepower each. By 1966, additional upgrades had resulted in the model being dubbed the 8280. However, in 1968, an antitrust lawsuit compelled GM to divide its successful Euclid division. The truck division retained the Euclid name, but crawler and earth-moving equipment became part of the new Terex brand. Terex is still around now, while Euclid does not. The TC-12, later known as the 8280, was in production until 1974, with 91 units made over both versions. By then, simpler and more powerful single-engine dozers had joined the market, rendering the complex and aging TC-12 design less competitive. Frick tractor. In 1892, a small village in Northeast became the birthplace of a revolutionary breakthrough in agriculture. John Frick, a visionary innovator, invented the first effective gasoline-powered engine that could go forward and backward, a notion now known as the modern tractor. Prior to this development, farming was a difficult task, relying mainly on unwieldy steam-powered machines that were not only difficult to manage but also posed considerable fire hazards. Frick saw the need for a more efficient and safer solution. His creation, simply named the Frick tractor, was a game-changer. It featured a one-cylinder engine mounted on the running gear of a steam engine, effectively combining two power sources into one more manageable unit. While its specifications might seem modest by today's standards, this tractor was far easier to control than the hazardous steam engines of the past, marking a significant leap forward in agricultural technology. Frick tested his idea in South Dakota, where it outperformed expectations.
It still offered plenty of unique features, starting with the sideways engine.
Threshing approximately 72,000 bushels of tiny grain. This triumph foreshadowed a new era in farming. Despite its potential, selling the Frick tractor proved tough. The Waterloo Gasoline Traction Engine Company, which approved the design, initially sold only 2 units. After years of research, the business finally launched the LA model of the Frick tractor in 1913. The world wasn't quite ready for the tractor's complexity at first, but a year later, the company found success with the Waterloo Boy tractor. This machine, weighing 6,000 pounds and measuring nearly 6 feet wide and over 5 feet tall, featured a 7.6-liter two-cylinder kerosene engine, a 20-gallon fuel tank, an unsynchronized gear transmission, and a 4-start crank. The Waterloo Boy represented the future of farming in the early 20th century, solidifying its place in history as a pioneering piece of agricultural machinery. International Harvester. The 295 pay scraper emerged in the early 1960s as a product of significant technical advancements. This machine, initially introduced in 1962, constituted a watershed moment in the construction industry, effectively replacing older versions such as the 2T75. At its heart was the groundbreaking IH model DT 817T engine, a 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel powerhouse with an astonishing 375 horsepower. The machine also included an Allison 4-speed power shift gearbox and a top speed of 26 miles per hour, which made it unique for its time. One of the key design features of the 295 was its fixed kingpin, connecting the tractor and scraper sections.
Here you can see where the linkage arms connect down to the 2 push rods. And this is what will curl the bucket in or out.
which was enhanced with a ring gear at its base. Two hydraulic steering cylinders with teeth cut into their extensions allowed the machine to turn 90 degrees to the left or right. However, like many innovative machines, the early 295 model encountered difficulties, particularly with steering. These concerns prompted the production of the improved 295B model, which included enhancements such as a bowl comparable to the 495 while retaining the original 295's fully cable-controlled mechanism. The 295B could hold up to 24 cubic yards hit and 31 cubic yards stacked. International Harvester was not pleased with these upgrades. They redesigned the cable control system, added two separate bowl assemblies, and boosted heap capacity to 34 cubic yards. The 295B also saw an increase in horsepower, thanks to the after-cooling provided by the DT817 engine. It came with a choice of either a 6-speed Allison or an 11-speed twin-disc power-shift transmission. The wear and tear issues of the original model were addressed through a comprehensive overhaul, inspired by the UCL's follow-up system. Pushing the limits even further, International Harvester created the A295 with a 32 cubic yard capacity. Unfortunately, this model's production run was only 3.5 years. The 295 series faced stiff competition from heavyweights
to do that steering, so increase speed of one side and decrease the speed of the other side to do that steering, and it gives us a lot of power in a turn.
Such as the Caterpillar 631 and the UCL S24. Despite the competition, the 295B remained in production and continued to perform until the series was discontinued in 1974. Oliver OC3. Next on our list is the Oliver OC3 crawler tractor, a rugged machine that made a significant impact in its day.
An Oliver crawler. Little mini crawler for pulling logs around. So we're not sure exactly.
Despite the somewhat unwieldy network of pipes and hoses, this tractor included a hydraulic front blade and a rear box blade. It was powered by a Hercules petrol engine, which produced 25 horsepower under perfect conditions. The Cleveland Tractor Company, founded in 1911 and later rebranded as Cletrac, was a key participant in the bulldozer market, competing with industry titans such as Caterpillar and Allis-Chalmers. The Hercules engine, named after the famous hero, lived up to its reputation. This 2.2-liter four-cylinder gasoline engine produced 29 horsepower at 1,700 revolutions per minute, making it a dependable workhorse whether you were plowing fields, clearing land, or moving large loads. The Oliver OC3 had a 12-gallon fuel tank and measured 8.3 feet long, 4.36 feet wide, and 4.19 feet high. Oliver Equipment Company joined the crawler tractor business by purchasing Cleveland Tractor Company in 1944. The Oliver OC3, built from 1951 to 1957, used the same dependable 22-horsepower four-cylinder Hercules engine as its predecessor, the Cletrac HG. In 1955, the OC3's design was updated to include the flat-nose appearance seen on the Oliver 55 farm tractor. This versatile utility crawler was popular in both construction and farming, offering options like a PTO shaft, belt pulley, various loader buckets, dozer blades, and even a V-type snowplow. Additional features included 4 different track widths, multiple tread options, cabs, and electric lights. With a 42-inch track width came with an electric starter, while lights were an optional upgrade. Caterpillar 977K. Let's delve into another classic from the past, the 1969 Caterpillar 977K track loader. Its predecessor, the Cat 977, made its debut around 1955 to 56 and quickly earned a reputation for power and reliability, particularly in medium to large-scale earth-moving projects. One distinguishing feature of this machine is its pusher blade, which differs from the standard loading bucket used on comparable equipment. The 977K model was originally introduced in the United States in 1966, followed by manufacture in Japan a year later, and finally in Scotland to cater to the UK and European markets. This variant was fitted with a more powerful Cat D333 turbocharged 6-cylinder engine that produced 170 horsepower. Its standard features, such as the electric start and pedal steer system, let operators to easily maneuver small places. The 977K also included a walk-through operator's compartment, allowing the driver unfettered access to the controls, which was a prominent feature of the 46H unit. Caterpillar released the 977L in 1971, replacing the 977K model. The new model included increased horsepower, a rollover protection system, and other improvements. Despite this, the 977K remained popular among enthusiasts due to its timeless style, dependability, and adaptability. With nearly 22,000 units built, it helped shape the modern building sector. Even today, some fortunate owners continue to operate these machines. The distinct sound of a 977K starting up or running is a testament to its enduring performance, even after half a century. This machine, like many vintage models, was instrumental in countless infrastructure projects around the world, and its legacy continues to resonate within the industry. Caterpillar 66. In the 1920s, one remarkable piece of technology that played an important part in maintaining rural roads was the Caterpillar 66 pull grader, which was towed by a crawler tractor.
Dallas-Fort Worth area. This particular loader had a conscientious maintenance manager that I've known for almost 30 years.
This grader was Caterpillar's largest type at the time, requiring two operators, one to handle the tractor and the other to operate the grader itself. The combined size of the tractor and grader made tight bends and accurate maneuvers difficult. Smaller gas-powered tractors with greater blade attachments were more maneuverable, but still needed two workers. Interestingly, these old machines may still outperform some modern technology after a century. The Caterpillar 66 came equipped with a 12-foot wide blade with a smooth, bolt-on cutting edge. This design enabled it to cover enormous areas while providing smooth, level surfaces on country roads. The original 66 model, designated by the 6CSN prefix, included both manual and power control choices with double-frame rails. The second iteration, still named as the 66, but with a single frame, had the 5E prefix and offered manual or power controls, as well as a choice of steel or rubber tires. Caterpillar created the Auto Patrol motor grader in the early 1930s, which needed only one operator to function. By 1938 to 39, they launched the first diesel-powered motor graders, including the Caterpillar 212 Auto Patrol, which was the smallest of the three models Caterpillar offered at the time. Cleveland Tractor. Next, let's take a look at another significant machine from the early 20th century. In the 1910s, Rollin White, an automobile manufacturer, saw an opportunity to penetrate the thriving tractor market. However, rather than manufacturing another tractor, White intended to develop something distinctive. After testing with a wheeled variant, he realized that Midwestern farmers required a crawler tractor that was powerful, lightweight, and economical. White accomplished these conditions in 1916 when he introduced the Cleveland Tractor Company's first crawler. This original model was quickly followed by the Model W 220 in 1918, which was a game-changer, establishing Cleveland Motors and its Cletrac tractors as major players in the crawler market. This accomplishment inspired the crawler titan Holt to expand his inventory with models such as the Caterpillar 10. One of the Model W 220's most appealing features was its price, selling for $1,385, significantly higher than the $785 Fordson tractor introduced in 1918.
Of Cletrac tractors.
The last count I had, which was several years ago, I have over 100 Cletracs.
Despite the price difference, the W220 offered minimal soil compaction, which greatly improved crop yields and made cultivation up to 100 times more efficient. The Cletrac Model W was considered highly advanced for its time, featuring a controlled differential steering mechanism and a planetary gear system that allowed power to be distributed to both tracks, even during turns. This design not only made the Model W efficient, but also reduced soil damage, a feature Cleveland dubbed the True Traction System, which later became a standard for future Cletrac crawlers. Caterpillar 2-ton. One of the most fascinating and oldest machines in the world is the Caterpillar 2-ton tractor. When Caterpillar was created in 1925, this type was one of the first offerings, with other legendary models such as the 30, 60, 5-ton, and 10-ton from the Holt line. The 2-ton came from the Holt stable and was almost identical to the HTT-35, a tractor released in 1921. The Caterpillar 2-ton was manufactured in both California and Peoria, with serial numbers ranging from 253 to 26313 in California and 7001 in Peoria. The 2-ton stood notable for its technological advancements at the time. It had an overhead camshaft engine and oil-cooled steering, both of which were groundbreaking innovations at the time. Interestingly, it was also the last tractor to have track shoes integrally cast with the rails, a unique design feature. Its gearbox was located at the rear of the machine, behind the crown wheel, rather than between the flywheel clutch and the crown wheel, which was an unusual configuration. The 2-ton model had an early Holt T35 radiator, although the HTT-35, another model in the range, used riveted track frames rather than cast ones. Although the HT 2-ton weighs more than 5,000 pounds, it was considered tiny in 1921. This diminutive size was suitable for California's changing agricultural terrain, where specialized crops need smaller, more efficient farm equipment. Prior to the introduction of the Holt 2-ton tractor, managing smaller farms, orchards, and vineyards was difficult due to the constraints of larger tractors, which couldn't readily go beneath tree branches or between vineyard rows. The HT2-ton's compact design, low fuel consumption, low ground pressure, and inexpensive running expenses made it popular among farmers. Despite its diminutive size, it was praised for its superior traction, longevity, and efficiency. This design proved to be extremely successful, remaining in production until 1925. Following the formation of the Caterpillar Tractor Company, the Holt 2-ton design was developed and marketed under the Caterpillar 2-ton moniker until 1928. It was eventually replaced by the smaller and more contemporary Caterpillar 20, but the Caterpillar 2-ton left an indelible mark on agricultural history. If you enjoyed this dive into history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future explorations into the past. And if you've got any thoughts or favorite machines from today's video, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.